You're listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this installment, we do another checkup on Marcy's new puppy. Maybe we should have skipped that part. Also, reviewing of the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and possibly the first indication that you are losing your marbles can be found in your pantry.
Okay, so I'll tell you what doesn't work. Actually,
what doesn't work?
This is puppy pooping part 3 or
Not
puking.
Again.
Now we're moving on to pooping.
Okay, there's going to come a point where the bodily functions of this puppy are just more than
hopefully
anyone
this is the end.
can bear. I'm not sure. I may have hit my limit already. We'll see.
Our couple of listeners already know that the puppy was puking all week last week.
Yes.
So on Saturday, I took him to a new vet, and they looked at him and they said, "Yeah, something's wrong." I said, "Well, thanks.
Thanks a lot." Yeah.
They took him back for x-rays.
Mm-hmm.
And the vet comes back and he said, "I want to show you this."
Oh, that's never good.
No, it's never good. So there's this mysterious object showing up in his, like, I don't know what all the technical terms are for inside a dog's gut, but it was in a small place where it would make him throw up.
You know, people are heaving. People are listening to this podcast. You know what we should do to promote the podcast? We should give out branded airsick bags is what we should do.
We should.
Yes.
We should. So I'm looking at what this is in his gut, and I'm like, God, I don't know. And they said, well, he's this and this and this and this, and we're going to give him a shot. And plus, this was day 5 of me cooking him chicken and rice.
But what about the thing in his gut? They're just going to let it sit there?
It's coming.
Okay. I'm getting
so I get home and I'm walking around.
Angle now, yes.
They have these big lamb chop dolls that were made for dogs. If everybody, I'm sure that our listeners know who Lamb Chop is. Sherry Lewis and her puppets from a million years ago, and Lamb Chop was a lamb.
Had a little voice and talk like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have these 2 huge Lamb Chop dolls that I bought that were supposedly made for dogs, and I've had them forever. Okay, they've gone through like all my dogs.
Literally?
There's literally, no, not literally.
Well, this time it seems to me like this time it's going to be literally.
Well, I'm walking through the living room and I stepped on something barefoot, and it was the nose off a lamb chop. So I grab the other lamb chop and look at him, and there's no nose, and it's like a plastic black nose. And I should have known better from day 1 that someone was going to eat that nose off. But no, the nose is inside Jerry, and there she'll stay. He eats now, and he poops now. And the nose is just there. I guess it's just going to stay until his...
I don't need that information.
I don't know. But yes, it was Lamb Chop's nose all along. And so I know where it is. And no, I'm not going to go through anything to see if it comes out. I'm just going to trust that it's doing no damage, therefore it stays.
How did they get him to stop puking is what I want to know.
They explained all this to me, and it's very technical, and I'm not a veterinarian. They gave him a shot.
Okay.
And then I had to give him drugs for 2 days. And he doesn't puke anymore, and now he's back. Today is the first day that he's back actually eating his food. And he's outside playing in the snow. And this is his first snow.
He's on his zip line, is he?
Yeah, he's on the zip line. Are you kidding? So I'm back to walking around with a pocket full of hot dog pieces to train him again.
Do you have a particular outfit that you don't mind reeks of cheap hot dog, or no?
I just do laundry a lot because the smell drives me crazy. There ends the story of puking Jerry.
Let us fervently hope.
Let us pray for Lamb Chop's nose.
Oh, gosh.
So no more stuffies for any animals because Jerry ruined it for them all.
Oh, you get to say to him, you earned this for the rest of the class.
Exactly, with the other 2 dogs sitting there giving him the dog eye or whatever they do. Yesterday he was walking around with a bag of potatoes, and I didn't notice
A whole bag?
the whole bag.
That
Well, they were
netted
mini.
bag? Those giant netted bags?
Yeah. Well, they were mini red potatoes, so it wasn't a giant bag,
You know,
but it was a netted bag of unopened
a
potatoes.
red potato could resemble Lamb Chop's nose if you're not careful. He's just
Well, now my husband knows why we had potatoes for dinner last night.
oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want Jerry to get him anymore, so I said, okay, we'll have to eat him.
I'm starting to wonder if I really am losing my marbles. And if I really am losing my marbles, these podcasts are going to document me losing my marbles, which
How many
makes me
marbles do
really
you think you
worried
had?
about how many podcasts I have left. Because, just as an example, I'm on this weird sort of loop where I keep buying the same thing at the grocery store over and over, whether we need it or not. Has this happened to you? Where
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you think, oh, we're out as it happens, and that's what made me think about it. It's potatoes. Oh, we don't have any potatoes. I buy potatoes, and then I see some that are in the like slightly scratched and dented bin, which I can never resist. Like, oh, look, a good deal on these usually really expensive little bitty potatoes. I'll buy those. And then a few days later, I'm thinking, I wonder if we have any potatoes in the house. We should probably end up buy more. And then the spousal unit. So this is not my early onset problem, but comes home and says, "Hey, I had a coupon for potatoes," and I can't put anything else in the entire pantry because there are like 40 pounds of potatoes in there, and so I don't know, but it may be that the early, when people talk about when they noticed their parent was getting demented. Like I noticed when my father was in the early stage, the first sign that I noticed that my father, who ultimately died of Alzheimer's, was not 100%, he kept telling me that he felt like he was mentally not 100%. And I kept saying, Dad, you've never remembered anybody's name. I had the same best friend all through junior high and high school. You never remembered her name. But then we walked out of an ice cream parlor with the kids, his grandkids, that was literally 2 blocks from their house, and he turned the wrong way to go home. And I thought, well, I think that if I have to figure out when I began losing my marbles, it may be the potato incident. So just flag that tape, as it were, in broadcasting. Just make a note. It may be the potatoes that were the first sign.
Okay. Well, you can always send them to Jerry.
Yeah, good point. And then I'll forget what I went to the post office to mail. I do that too.
Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of bizarre.
Yes.
I
Only
have a-
one thing reminds you? Speaking of bizarre, only one?
Well, okay.
Okay.
How bizarre, how bizarre. Do you remember that song?
Yes. I don't know what
How bizarre, how bizarre.
yeah. What song is that?
So I told you that we were getting ready to rehome the goats because my husband has had enough goat, and I was worried someone was going to eat them.
Yes.
Well, the day before the first snowstorm, he came home with straw and hay, and he went out there and he filled their house with straw and hung an old sleeping bag up to make a makeshift door on one side of their goat house and prepared them for the storm. So I think they get to stay. I'm reading that as he now loves the goats and they're staying.
I'm not reading it like that at all.
What are you reading it at?
I'm thinking that when he puts them up for adoption, he wants it to look like they came from a really great home.
They did.
Well, there you go.
They came from the best home. They wander through the hallways.
Well, they do of your house, leaving little droppings
Yeah.
that look like Lamb Chop's nose.
Well, nobody's gotten in since the dog door has been shuttered
Well,
because Jerry only goes out the front.
I think he wants you to know that when those goats leave, it's no direct malice on his part. It's simply that he's sick of being bitten in the ass.
Yeah, I think it's all malice. It's all revenge.
All the malice is on the goat's part, not his. He wants you to know that he's not the guilty party when the goats depart for some lovely home that is not yours.
I tried to talk the child into going out there for something for me yesterday. She wouldn't do it. She said, I don't want to get bit. And I said, well, bite him back.
Oh, that's nice advice. That worked in
Thank you.
preschool, I think, but no.
Yes, it did. did. So what's up with you?
I'm trying to assimilate the idea that you might that someone might adopt, like when they're babies, they're cute, but who in their right mind would adopt adult goats? They
take care of your lawn.
Yeah. I think you should lend them out.
I was thinking about renting them out and let them,
rent them out like this.
Support themselves.
Yeah. If they were a financial plus, then the whole dynamic would shift.
Except that driving them around in the back seat of the pickup truck just doesn't sound attractive to me.
No, you need to get some sort of vehicle that encloses them. Yeah. Your poor husband cannot tolerate driving with a goat's head sticking out of the back of his truck again. That was just more than a human being should be forced to tolerate.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite pictures.
That was a totally emasculating moment for your husband. That was not nice.
Actually, he thought it was funny.
Did he? Oh, good. I'm glad he's secure.
Yeah, because people were stopping and pointing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
wait
would.
a minute.
Yeah.
There's a goat with his head out the window.
And a seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm engaged in the annual ritual of watching all the movies that are up for Screen Actors Guild Awards.
Mm-hmm.
There seem to be fewer of them this year. And everybody hates this process because for years they would do things like, we're offering a streaming option, and you'd spend 3 hours trying to get the streaming icon app thing to work. And then you'd call and hold on to tech support for 4 hours. And then Steve in India would tell you that it only works for Apple smart TVs. And then you would hate everybody in Los Angeles and all the movies that they made. And you wouldn't want to vote for any of them. And you'd hate your union too. So my most common denominator for every movie that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them, is why don't they hire an editor? Why don't they? Why is this 2 hours? It could be an hour and a half, and it would be just as good and maybe better. We actually saw a Golden Globe Award-winning movie where I was fairly warned. The actor made a speech about how people should be allowed to make long movies, and it's true. The movie was 200 minutes long. What is that? I know that's over 3 hours long.
That's why we don't go to the movie theaters. That's why we stream them at home so we can pause.
They do allow you an intermission. It was a beautiful story, and it was beautifully told and beautifully shot. But I could easily have stripped a half an hour out of that thing, and I don't think anyone would have complained. Oh my God, there was less time of the crew marching up a hill. Gosh, what I really want.
Yeah.
Is another 10 minutes of the scene of chemical abuse. I want to see another 10 minutes of that. Oh, you would hate it. Needles everywhere.
Yeah. I've found that the older I get, the shorter my attention span.
And people say it's the kids, but it's you apparently with the shorter attention span.
Yes, it's definitely me. I have to start playing a game on my iPod.
Oh man. Well,
I cannot just sit and watch
You've
it.
always been a little twitchy that way. No, you always have been.
Twitchy.
You have been.
I'm practicing being twitchy now.
Fortunately, when you speak to me, you're usually directly engaged. But I don't know.
Yes, I am. I've always been a little disengaged.
You get twitchy.
I do.
Yeah. Fidgety. Is that a better word? Fidgety?
Well, I think that's why I became a journalist, is because you write everything down, and that way I didn't miss anything. Because I was always that person in the back of a lecture hall walking out of there and saying, gee, what did he just say?
The upgrade for that, or the update for that, is the kids who go, well, I don't really need to pay attention. It's all going to be available online.
See, we didn't have that back in 1975.
No.
I have notebooks full of notes that I can actually read.
Wow.
Of my own shorthand.
Wow.
And I realized that I was a good note taker, and that was the way that I knew what was happening. So it's kind of natural to just walk right into,
reporting,
interviewing people.
I like the reporter's notebooks better than any other notebooks.
I miss them.
You can still get them.
No, it will bring back nightmares and horror stories.
Okay. All right. I won't.
Years by time.
I was going to trade you a box of reporter's notebooks for that spider thing you've been promising me for 3 years that's supposed to crawl up and down my windows and scare away birds. Yes.
It's with a couple things that have. I got to get to the post office.
Tell
it to stop snowing.
Someone else promised to send me something. I don't remember what, but I'm so skeptical of anybody sending anything. To me, the miracle of eBay is not that you can find something that you had as a toy when you were 8 years old. It's that somebody actually goes to the post office and mails it. Yeah, that's the miracle to me. Thanks for listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. We're glad you found us, and I hope you'll find my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. It's all true, but I've changed the names of the people and the radio stations and a bunch of other stuff because I'd prefer not to get sued. You can find it at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon.